My life is pretty good. I don't need the men much, but by God, when I do, am I glad they're there, because tough situations in life and trying to do them your own is a formula for failure.
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior. And on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
Welcome to Sovereign Man Podcast, where we aim to make men masculine. Again, I'm your man, Nicky Ballou. We have a very special guest today here, Geoff Tomlinson. Welcome to the show, Tomlinson.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Nicky. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, brother. So, Tomlinson, we wanted to talk about an important topic, and that is why men should be part of a men's group for the long haul. Because you and I were talking about this when we had lunch a couple months ago, that there's a lot of men who join a men's group because they have a particular goal they want to achieve. Maybe it's a monetary goal, maybe it's a relationship goal, a health goal. And then once they achieve it, they go, I'm good. I don't need this anymore. And they quit participating. You and I said that's a mistake, and we got into why it's a mistake. Please enlighten us. Why is that a mistake?
Okay, well, it's common, I think, to probably every men's group, because to some degree, going to a men's group isn't your normal thing, right? Like, men with their time spend it with their families, they spend it watching sports, they spend it doing sports, they spend it however they like to spend their time. And typically a men's group might be asking for a night a week or a night every 2 weeks or whatever the time commitment is for. And the issue is predominantly starts with how they're attracted to a men's group. Either someone talks to them about what they got, and often that came from their life wasn't working at the time, so they went to this men's group and they got all this great stuff, and now look at how great it's going. Or sometimes those conversations even start with something along the lines of, what's different about you? And then the man elaborates. So a lot of men come to men's groups to get something fixed. And men are by nature fixers. It's one of the biggest problems men have with their relationships with their women. Yep. Their woman has a problem. They want to fix it. That's the last thing she wants you to do. Yep. But it's in our nature. We fix everything. We fix our business problems. We fix things that are broken at home. We're fixers. Even we don't necessarily have the skills, and we certainly don't in our relationship with our women, we want to. It's innate in us to fix it. And we got a problem ourselves. We want to get it fixed. And so we go to a men's group, and they stick around for a while because, in fact, the men's group provides a solution to that problem. It may take time. It may happen quickly. It may not, whatever. The men's groups almost universally just being around a group of men, as long as it's a masculine men's group that is going to speak the truth to you. There's some out there that I have less value for that are kind of, I would describe them as touchy-feely. But most of the men's groups that I'm frequent with, the one I'm a member of, very direct, and that type of environment can cause transformation in men. It can cause a man who's in a failing marriage to have a successful marriage. It can cause a man who's struggling in his career to turn his career around. It can cause a man that doesn't have a social life to have one, doesn't have a purpose to have one, a million different things. And men come to men's groups for a million different reasons can get solved by that. So that's the dynamic that gets set up. Unfortunately, the problem, is that, as you said in your intro, and I'm, sort of just providing some background, is that men, they get that problem fixed and they're like, good, I got it, I'm out of here. I'm going to go back to drinking beer on Tuesday nights because with my buddies or whatever, watching the Blue Jays or sports or whatever it is they like to do. And I understand the dynamic, but unfortunately, there's two things. It doesn't work because the initial problem that the man came to the men's group for, right? The issue, regardless of what it is, let's just use relationship with spouse, right? Whatever that behavior was that has now been adapted by his attendance with a men's group and being coachable in that men's group has now been, in his mind, solved. But there's a number of realities in this. The first one is that probably things have gotten better at home because you scratched the surface of solving the actual issue. You took the first couple of steps and things are better, and you might even be getting some feedback, either if it's career-wise from colleagues and employers or whatever, or if it's relationship-wise from your spouse, that, well, you've gotten better. And so better doesn't mean dealt with to start with, but it feels like it because there's been this huge improvement and nothing you'd ever done before had improved it, so you feel like you're there. And in reality, what tends to happen is that if you haven't gone all the way and you haven't done this over a longer period of time, you find that you may not have dealt with the underlying issue completely. You've put a discipline around it or a practice to deal with the problem, and it comes out in another way. And a year later, you're back with the same problem. And you're like, well, that men's group thing didn't really work. But if you stuck it out, not just stayed for 6 months, now you'd be dealing with, over that 6-month period, you would have actually got to the deeper around what's going on. Your men would have found where, well, things have gotten better, they're not where they need to be, and pointed them out to you, and you would have had the awareness now to deal with it. And as a result of all that, that could work for you. The other thing that I would say that is crucial is that you come there because you've got issue A, right? Maybe it's your career. You solve issue A. What men fail to understand is that issue A was caused by something about their personality, and they managed to solve it in a certain environment. But that doesn't mean they solve what's inside them that ultimately needs to be dealt with. And those things are not dealt with over a short period of time in a men's group. Sometimes it takes years for the core of the issue to be dealt with by the men, so that it doesn't just show up in one area of your life that you put a Band-Aid over, but it stops showing up everywhere. Those are some of the realities. The other big one is life keeps changing. We feel like, everything's going well now, but life is a series of ups and downs, right? It's a sine wave. And, when you're on top of the world, you feel like it's going to stay there forever. And when you're at the bottom of the world, you feel like it's going to stay there forever. And the reality is that life is going to throw a million different things at you as you live it. And I've been doing this work for 28 years. Through that time, I've had my father die. I've had my marriage, end. I've had career change. I've had job loss. All of those things came up, and I was better prepared for them because I had been in a men's circle where I had experienced other men going through those scenarios before I did. So it might take 2 or 3 years or longer being in a men's organization before someone is now dealing with the loss of their father. But when you're on the other side of that circle, and with the strength of the relationships that are formed in men's groups, you're able to understand both and see the mistakes the man makes and the victories that he has. And you're able to see the other men that have been through it before coach him on how to be in this environment. Because you may be feeling devastated, but guess what? The rest of the family is looking at you to lead right now. And if you're devastated, so you get to live through empathy, through all these life experiences, being in a men's group for a long period of time, which prepares you innately for every possible type of life event. You just end up seeing it. You see men go through divorce. You see men have their spouses die. You see men have a sick child. How do you deal with that? How are you going to be equipped for that? You think just because you solve some problem with your career that you're now equipped to deal with your father dying. You're not. And So you live through those things, and every one of those things that goes on with the other men is also training for you on how to deal with that thing when it inevitably happens to you. And if you want me to keep going, I got more. If you got another question, you can fire it at me. But
if you got more, keep going. I'd like you to just finish the entirety of what you want to say, and then I'll ask my next question.
All right. So the you as a man, and there's another thing that is very an odd dynamic which new men do not understand in a men's organization. And that is that when the more experienced man is coaching you through an issue, he's also talking to himself. And so the more experienced men are getting a renewed lesson on something that they also have been through, that they are now teaching you through the questions they're asking and what they're expressing. But the reality is those renewals keep us sharp as men, and we stay engaged. And finally, if you stay long enough, you might get the gift of giving. I go every week to a men's meeting, and I'm there for 2.5 hours. I've been doing it for 28 straight years. My life is pretty good. I don't need the men much, but by God, when I do, am I glad they're there, because tough situations in life and trying to do them your own is a formula for failure. But most of the weeks that I show up, I'm showing up in order ultimately to help other men. And when I ask a question, I'm not brilliant, I'm not some sage, but when I ask a question that causes a man to have a realization that changes his life, I go home fired up. Some nights I can barely even sleep, just from some simple question I asked that caused a light bulb to go off, that caused a man to have a fundamental change in the way his behavior is going to be. And that juice carries me for days. And I know that, for men who haven't been in men's groups that long, it's hard to envision that. They look at other men and they go, well, that guy's a leader and he can do this. No. I've had every possible type of man, ask a question that's changed my life. Right? From brilliant to quiet, from, to not that smart, frankly. Men are men, and every man can ask a question that can transform you into another man by causing you to have a realization, to see a blind spot that you never saw. And ultimately, a lot of what we do in this work is asking questions that cause men to see a blind spot that they were completely oblivious to. And with that knowledge, they're able to change their life. But if you're leaving a men's group because you solved one blind spot and you now think you don't have others that are going to come out, you're just completely wrong.
Yeah, you are completely wrong. And I think it's more than you're completely wrong. It's you're putting on a mask which says, I got it covered. The mask is, I'm good. The mask of, I'm good. I don't need you. I'm good. I'm strong. I'm capable. And what that mask is covering inside is a deep level of insecurity that you're really not good. You really don't have it covered, but you're unwilling to be honest with yourself about it. One of the men in Sovereign Man, ARPA, said to me something which I find very profound. He said, at the core of every place in your life where you're stuck is a lie that you're telling yourself that you refuse to acknowledge.
It's really good.
Yeah. And I'd really like for you to comment on that, because I believe that to be true for myself. I know that I've lied to myself about a lot of things, and I'm happy to go into it, but I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
I think it's a brilliant observation. I've never heard it put so succinctly, but I've heard men talk this through before. And the reality is that absolutely it's true. And after 28 years of work, I'm still finding those lies, right? I mean, because your life is, another word for it is sometimes a story. You create this story in your head to protect yourself from that lie about why something exists, right? And it is nothing more than a construct you've created because you don't want to change, or you're afraid of change, or you're afraid of the truth inside of the lie. And inside of that lie lies the transformation you actually seek. The lie you tell yourself, inside of that, and exposing the fact that it is a lie, can lead you to be the man that you always wanted to be that you aren't. Because they're the things that are actually holding you back from it. If it was a light switch to change who you are, you would have already switched it. Yes. And it can take a long time to discover that. Men, you come to a men's group with a specific problem most of the time, and men deal with that specific problem. But if you stay for a longer period of time, men will get to know you, and they will start to expose other lies that you have inside of you that lead to those problems. But they're not going to deal with those things when they don't know you well enough. Besides, they know you're here because you've got this issue with whatever that issue is, spouse, career, whatever. And so they know why you're there, and they're focused on helping you get that. But if you stick around, they're going to find the other things that are off base with you, and they're going to find them mostly by asking questions of you. And you're going to realize that you're there, and then they can work you through and hopefully get you to that lie. Because if you can expose it, the biggest issue men have is, and we do this to protect ourselves, like if men don't like their emotions, right? Even the good ones. Like, I don't know about you, Nick, but I think you're probably the same. Let's say you have a huge success in business, massive. It's going to change everything. I feel great. I go tell my wife about it. I take her out for dinner to celebrate. By the time I get home for dinner, it's yesterday's news and I'm on to the next thing. And we don't even like our great emotions. There's a reason why a male orgasm is like really quick and a female one lasts a long time. Like even that is something that, like, when it's over, I'm like, okay, I've had enough of that. Like, we don't even like our good emotions, let alone our bad ones. And we have these lies to protect ourselves from that so we can get up. Because if I was thinking about the bad emotions that I have and the bad things that I have to deal with, I wouldn't be able to get up and do my job effectively. So the whole, holding your emotions down is a pretty normal thing to do, particularly when you're trying to achieve a task, like doing your job at work, or if you're trying to build a shed in your backyard. You better not be focused on the fact that you're hurting about your brother having cancer, whatever it is, because you're going to cut your fingers off with your circular saw. So we have to do some of that. We have to actually, avoid feeling our emotions, because if we felt them, it would make us dysfunctional, good or bad. The problem is that becomes a habit. And if you just live your life that way, you never go to a men's group where some of these things will be exposed to you. Or if you don't stay with a men's group so that it'll be exposed to you over time, you'll never be in a position to deal with those things.
Yeah, it's a very good point. We are not good with emotions, and we tend to want to shove them away, good or bad, but especially bad. And it's very true. So for myself, right, 2.5 years ago, I stopped telling myself a lie, because I used to be a fitness trainer. I got out of that business, and over a dozen years, I gained weight when I got into the business coaching space. And every year I tell myself, you know what to do. You'll figure it out this year. And every year I gain weight. 50 plus pounds later, I'm like, you're full of shit. You're not a trainer anymore. You need a trainer. So I hired a guy, and with his help, I dropped the weight. Now, this process took 6 months, but I stuck with it because I thought, you know what? There's more for me here. I'm not done with this. I wanted to reshape my body because my upper body was smaller than my lower body. It wasn't symmetrical. And so that process meant that I'd have to put on weight to take it off again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to put on weight, but that's the process. So I put some of that weight on and then took it off. And then again, I'm putting it on to bulk up and then reshape my body. And the truth of the matter is right now, you know, I don't like the number on the scale, but I know that part of this plan, this process is going to involve me going through changing the number on the scale while lifting weights, while doing recovery activity to get to a certain result. So I just want to tell everybody, hey, I lost the weight and I'm at this weight forever. But that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is I decided to go further on the journey, which means that in the short term, in the medium term, I don't look like I looked when I dropped the weight. You know, I dropped 58 pounds at one point. But I've gained about 30 of it back right now as part of this process. You know, and the lie would be me telling myself, yeah, you're good right now. You're good. You just stay lean. But the truth is, I want to do more than just stay lean. I want to be the best that I can be in this regard. And there's other lies I've told myself, like inside relationships, like it's my woman's fault. It's not my fault. It's my woman's fault. Mm-hmm. Well, no question. She's had a role to play in some of the disagreements that we've had, but you know, so have I. And the learning for me is not to get triggered by a woman's emotionality. And the truth of the matter is, I do get triggered by a woman's emotionality, and then I get emotional, and that's when I lose all my mojo and all my cool.
Yeah. No, there's no question that women can trigger us. I think when it comes to any relationship, whether it's with a client, you know, back when I was corporate, with a boss, with a spouse, with a child, you know, with one of my children, when I'm any important relationship, this isn't, you know, my relationship with the bus driver. This isn't a relationship that matters. Whenever it goes off, the first place that I want to look to is when I'm at my best, because I'm fully capable of going into the blame her scenario.
Yes.
But I'm getting better and better through the years of doing this work of identifying quickly that isn't good for me. Because what is good for me is, regardless of what that other person has done, any resentment or anger I have may be justified, but any of that expressed is not going to produce anything positive. So instead, I need to sit down and look at myself and ask myself, or have one of my men ask me the question, what is the part that I played in getting this relationship to this point? Regardless of if I'm 10% or 5% or 60% at fault for where it got to, that's not even relevant, because I can't change that other person. Me telling her that this behavior is unacceptable or whatever it is ain't going to change her or him. But me identifying what part I've played in this and then adapting my behavior based around that realization, that can play a powerful part in it. And even if I'm only 5% at fault for the relationship getting to the state where it's in that I don't like, it's amazing how often I take care of my 5%, and the 95% that was the other person's fault seems to go away. So
yeah,
even though they're the ones who may be overreacting, or they're the ones who may have taken the worst, or they're the ones who started in the first place and all I did was react to something, I take that out of the equation, and often I get the result I want. Also, it's the only result I can control. And with women, it's especially important, as you identify, because they are emotional creatures, and that sets us off, makes us feel emotion. As soon as I feel an emotion, that makes me angry, which is only a surface emotion. But it's something underneath that is causing it. It's still an emotion. I don't like it. Now I'm angrier because now I had to feel something. The only place I want to feel anything is when I'm doing the work. When I'm in the men's group environment, then I want to feel something. Then I want to identify my own feelings and maybe even express them. Even if they're inappropriate feelings I'm embarrassed of, so that I can get them out there, puke them out, and deal with it. But pretty much in the rest of my life, I don't want to feel. I don't want to feel it. I mean, it's not necessarily functional, but that's how I operate. And my wife will trigger my emotions. And that's a bad feedback loop for me because I don't want to feel them in the first place, let alone whatever one she's triggering.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, with my woman, I want to feel happy and like I'm ready to come.
Right, right. You want to feel that, and you want to feel that you're a better man than you actually are, from the way that she interacts with you.
Yeah.
And that's the pinnacle of a male relationship with a woman, is that feeling where she makes you feel better. And, I consider my wife to be a great woman. And, when I had a struggle in my career, I was changing careers. And her and I were, had a serious relationship for about a year. And, I couldn't find a job and I didn't know what to do. And, she actually said to me at one point, she said, I was depressed, like I was talking like I'm screwed. I got no money coming in. I don't know where I'm going to make money. I can't seem to, I've become too senior to get a job, and I can't get the job below it because I threatened the person that would hire me. I don't know what to do. And she said, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but I know you're smart and I know you're going to make money. And, she was putting all her eggs in my basket at that point. She was joining me in a life. That made me feel great. Now, she doesn't do that every day. I mean, she didn't do that last night. But I know that that's female energy and female relationship at their best for a man, is when they feel like, at that point, I felt like a better man than I actually was after she said that. And then I wanted to go out and prove her right. And then you know what happened? I did. I went out and proved her right. I got a little help from this business coach, but I mean, I never would have been there without the confidence I got from that, or the desire to make her right. So that's kind of when they're at their best. And of course, there's all sorts of times she's giving me shit for stuff I just like and I shouldn't be doing. And the other thing that pisses me off is half the time she's right. I hate that too.
Yeah, my woman's done that for me as well. She has said, I know you're going to figure this out. I know you're really good at this, especially when it comes to like doing enrollment and sales. And there are moments where I haven't had an enrollment in a while, and that's exactly what the doctor ordered. Is a good woman having faith in a man can have him overperform.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautifully
and
said.
And a woman, sometimes when my wife is really at me all the time, and it's mostly about bullshit, really, like stuff that is not big. What I've learned through, again, doing the men's work from other men that are really good with women is, if you listen to the words she's saying, you're going to get off base. You have to listen to the emotion that's underneath the words. She'll be complaining about this and that and this and that and this and that. That isn't really actually the problem. There's something else going on. I don't know what it is necessarily at the moment. But when I have the realization that, okay, that's a completely ridiculous thing for you to be throwing at me. And she's a smart woman, so she knows what she just said is stupid. I could engage with that. Probably sometimes I do, which isn't good. But if I have that realization and go, you know what? What is she really saying? What's she afraid of? That's the question I ask myself. What's she really afraid of? Is she afraid that I don't really love her anymore? Is she afraid of what? I don't know. But it seems to be that most women, when they're coming after their men, they're afraid of something. And not all the time, but a lot of the times that's what it is. And then you gotta, but if I can listen through the words to the emotion, then I can get to a solution that will help by changing my behavior. help deal with her issue.
That's very perceptive. Usually a woman comes at you when she's afraid of something.
Yeah.
Never thought of it that way, but that's actually true. That makes total sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear is usually the undermining thing, whether it's love, money, it doesn't matter, really. You don't like her family, it could be anything, but it's fear that causes most women's responses. And it's just a matter of if you grasp that, then you can hear through the words. Like my wife was recently complaining to me, rightfully so, but in a very angry way about how much I'm away right now. And my daughter just bought a house, and I've been going there, and it's like an hour and a half drive, helping her fix up her new place. It's a fixer-upper. And there's problems with it they don't need to go into that they didn't expect. But so I've been spending a lot of time there, and then I got season tickets to the Toronto Argonauts, and there's work nights, all sorts of stuff. And she said, she was angry about how much time she was spending away, but she came across as anger. And at first, I just wanted to react. And I think I just walked out of the room because I was like, you expect me not to support my daughter? That's what I wanted to say, right? You expect me not to do my job? You expect me not to go to events that I bought tickets for a year ago? Like that was what's going through my head. Go away. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's underneath those words? And what was underneath those words is just wanted me to spend some quality time with her. So the following weekend, finally had a weekend open, and I spent all day Friday evening just watching stuff she wanted to watch on TV. I taped the game.
Nice.
Well, I did. When she went to bed, I watched it. The next day, we went to Walmart to pick up an umbrella for our patio furniture. She's been wanting one. They didn't have one, but we spent 2.5 hours in Walmart. Now, normally, that would boil my blood. I want to go in there, buy the thing I want, and get the hell out. But instead, we went through the clothing section. She bought some. I bought some. She picked out stuff she wanted. It was a great day for her. You know what? That problem went away. And it actually wasn't about the quantity of time being spent. It was about the quality. It was about some of that time being stuff she likes doing, as opposed to me plopping my ass in the living room and putting the game on Friday night, which is what I normally would do. And she doesn't mind that. She'll watch stuff on her phone, but there's no quality in it. And so the point of this whole story was I heard the emotion, I heard something underneath her words, I identified what it was about. It stopped mattering to me that it was irrational, and that some of the things she said were not true. And then it started mattering to me what she needed, and then I was able to plan and take action around it. And I haven't heard anything about it for a week and a half. So that's the thing about women. It's that knowing they're emotional creatures, knowing they're not necessarily logical creatures. They can be, but when they have emotions, they're not. And then trying to listen for what's underneath. You just have to guess a lot of the time what might be underneath, but your guess is better than engaging and not doing anything.
Amen. This has
Something
been
I learned. I probably didn't learn this lesson. I think it'd be 18 years of men's work before this lesson finally sunk in. I mean, I'd heard it, but it didn't penetrate my thick skull. And now it does. It took that long. Because obviously, my mom left when I was 7, and I built up a resistance to wanting to get proper coaching around this issue of how to be with a woman. Because my mom abandoned me was my story. She didn't, by the way. She left because she had to, but that was my story. That was the story in here. That was a lie I told myself deep down inside, was she abandoned me. And once I was able to get over that, I was able to hear these lessons. But it was about 18 years of work to get there. Well, it wasn't 18 years of work. It was 18 years of working on other things till I was ready to receive that message.
That's very perceptive, because there's a lot of messages that we as men are not prepared to take in. I've had several messages that I wasn't prepared to take in the first time a man brought them to me. And then over a period of years, those messages started to make sense. You know, there's this quote from the great American writer Mark Twain, who said, you know, it's incredible how much smarter and wiser my father got from the time I was 18 to the time I was 30. I'm like,
Yeah.
is that what it was? Is that what it was? How much smarter your father got? Yeah.
Yeah, he got wiser. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, it's good. Very perceptive. Really enjoyed this conversation, Tomlinson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Me too.
And thank you for breaking down for men why you don't join a men's group just to achieve a single goal. You join a men's group because there's issues you're not even aware you have, that being a part of a men's group will illuminate for you and help you transcend. And if you're not in a men's group, you won't get that. You just won't. And you're not one and done. Life isn't one and done. Life is an ongoing process of issues coming up, ebbing and flowing, as you put it. Life ebbs and life flows. And it's important for you to have men in your life and be a part of a group, because when it ebbs, you need someone who's going to be able to see in your blind spot, just like you're going to be able to see in his blind spot when it ebbs for him.
Absolutely. Well put.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you again. And that's a wrap.
Pleasure being here.
Good to have you.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man Podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.